Hello Internet, my name is Ren. This is Ren Rants, a channel where I rant about many things that I care about with a particular focus on pop culture and politics. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the Orville Season 2, Episode 3, Home. That's right, I only have this and one more episode to review before I am finally caught up. I hope I get them both done before Thursday, because I have stressed myself out so much, even though none of you have made this stressful. I have made this stressful, so I'm really excited to get caught up. This is going to be a spoilery review, which means I'm not going to worry too much about spoilers because this episode has been out for a while. If you haven't seen it, go watch it, otherwise you have been warned. We're going to do a super fast overview of the plot, and then I'm just going to give you my general impressions of the episode overall. So the episode starts out with Alara and Isaac participating in a weekly ritual of arm wrestling. The crew bets on who is more likely to win because they're pretty evenly matched in strength. Alara's won 16 matches so far, and Isaac has won 14. But in this match, things go wrong. Isaac actually breaks Alara's arm, and while getting treated by Dr. Finn, they realize that Alara has lost significant amounts of both muscle and bone density since leaving her home planet. It turns out that this is a common occurrence among Soleans when they leave their home planet, because as their bodies begin to acclimate to lower gravity environments like that of Earth or the simulated gravity aboard the Orville, the strength begins to break down as their muscles begin to atrophy. The only form of treatment, of course, is for Alara to return home and reacclimate to Solean gravity. Otherwise, if she stays too much longer aboard the Orville, she'll never be able to return home because of the permanent changes to her muscle and bone density. So it's a pretty simple premise. We don't spend a lot of time aboard the Orville in this episode. We do spend most of it with Alara and her family on her home planet. Ed and Malloy escort her via shuttle to Celea, and they have kind of an emotional little goodbye, and he tries to communicate just how much she's grown aboard the Orville and how much she's distinguished herself. He even mentions that she saved his life when he's turning her over to her father, who we know is played by Robert Picardo, and I absolutely love him in the role of Idlis Katan. I think he does a great job of making the character just preposterous and difficult enough that you find him frustrating, but he's still endearing and you still want their relationship to improve. But Ed doesn't like him either, and when he's back aboard the shuttle with Malloy, remarks that he wishes he could punch the guy in the face. They return to the Orville, and Alara spends some time with her family. She sits down to lunch with her mother and father, and her sister Solana joins them, and it becomes very clear that the dynamic here is kind of a why can't you be more like your sister sort of dynamic. Solana, of course, is successful in the academic field. She has some kind of job working with a research lab, so probably in science or medical field, and she's engaged to her partner, and of course she didn't leave home. And her parents lament Alara's career choice, and the fact that she's single, the fact that she left Celea, and worse, that she left it for the military, that she never got her degree, and didn't follow the path that they wanted for her. So the disappointment is really clear, and we see a lot of tension between them, and more than a few times where she tries to confront her parents with how they've treated her. There's a really emotional conversation between her and her father where she talks about how she felt like they never encouraged her, and their constant focus on her intellectual disability was one of the limiting factors in her life because it made it so difficult for her to have confidence in herself. And I think that's a really good way to crystallize sort of what we've already inferred about her character with the relationship that she's had with her parents and what little we've seen of it before, but it's nice to deepen that relationship and get a better look at it. So Idlis suggests that they go to the family beach house for a vacation to try and bring the family back together. I ruined my take.
You're doing a great job!
Ooh, sorry. My boyfriend walked in while I was in the middle of a take, so I had to take a quick break to get rid of him. Not in a scary sort of way. Anyways, where were we? Okay, so They take a trip to the beach house, and they're told by a caretaker that they're the only ones on the island because it's the off-season. But that night, Alara notices a light on in one of the other houses on the island. The next morning, an elderly couple who introduce themselves as Candace and Florada Boren, I guess, ask if Alara and her family have noticed anything because a bunch of their personal items were moved around in their beach house. Alara and Solana go to investigate, and Solana have kind of a bonding moment where they talk about how they both envy what the other has and wish they were more like each other. And Solana tells Alara how proud of her she is, and it's just a really nice moment between the two of them. Meanwhile, back aboard the Orville, Finn and Lamar are devising a treatment for Alara, and no one is super excited about the replacement for Alara, who is Lieutenant Tharl. He's the trunk boy who has a trunk connected from his belly button to his nose that gives him quite a unique appearance, and he seems a little bit more casual, you might say, than Alara. Back at the beach house, everything seems to be going well. Dinner's on the stove, and the olds are all bonding. The Borens are talking about their son, who is in medical school, and things suddenly take a very quick turn in a different direction when Candace, these names, oh my goodness, when Candace decides to threaten Alara's father at gunpoint and tells him to stick his hand in the boiling sauce on the stove. I was warned about this scene in the comments, and oh my god, thank you for the warning, because yikes. I don't do well with, like, hand horror, like slicing hands, hands being removed, fingers being removed. None of that appeals to me. It is not my thing. So that scene was agonizing for me. I've also actually had boiling water poured on me accidentally before, so I know what it feels like, and oh my god, the second-hand imaginary pain is just a lot for me in that scene. And they reveal that their son was actually a Chilean anti-vaxxer scientist who published some sort of report claiming that a vaccine was causing an illness. It was very much an allegory for the whole vaccines cause autism movement. And I guess Idlis published a paper disputing that, and as a result, his career was ruined and their son committed suicide. And so they want Idlis to print a retraction and renounce his position, or else. And the or else, I guess, is that they're going to start cutting off people's fingers, as you do. So Florada starts getting ready with some garden shears to start chopping off Solana's fingers, and everything is just getting out of hand, you might say. So they're interrupted when Mercer and Malloy return in a Union shuttle, and the Borens get Idlis to try and lie to him, and then Candace jumps out and shoots Ed. Alara tackles his wife, or I guess shoots his wife, and then he chases her and her father upstairs. She convinces her father to leap out of a window and rescue Ed, and is very, very encouraging, and she takes care of business, and she takes care of Candace, and Ed is rescued just in the nick of time, and Alara returns to the Orville briefly after everyone's okay. And although she's interested in the treatment at first, she declines to receive the treatment that Ed came to tell her about because she wants to spend more time with her family. She had a really nice bonding moment with her dad where her dad kind of tells her that he was proud of her and recognizes that he never really knew or understood her before now. And she really wants to take that opportunity to reconnect with her family, and I think it was a pretty satisfying resolution to the episode. So we get a silent, tearful goodbye to Alara, and Ed gives her a jar of pickles as a parting present, and it's all very cute. But overall, I really liked this episode. As sad as I am to see Alara go, I was prepared for it since JP over at Egotastic Funtime predicted this ages ago. but I think it was a wonderful send-off for her because it was a really nice resolution to her character, and we understand that the reason she came to the Orville was that she was trying to get away from the fractured relationship with her family. And so to see her return to her family, to mend that relationship, and to finally be free of all of those insecurities that she got from the way her parents used to treat her, I think was a really nice way to see the arc for her character kind of end up in a really productive place. And it's nice because it's not like she was forced to leave, it's more that she accomplished what she needed to aboard the Orville, and now she had a chance to do that with her family. And I really, really liked this episode. I think that there are great things coming from this season. The sensitivity and depth that they've shown towards these characters in this season, I think, is already a step above what we saw last season. And again, I really loved season 1. So I am absolutely thrilled so far with this season. I am definitely looking forward to more Orville. Although I will nitpick that it seems very strange that if this is a common occurrence among Salayans that they lose their strength when they leave their home planet, you'd think that Union Central would have been aware of that or thought of that or had some kind of remedy or preventative measures in place, because the treatment that they devised for her was basically a 2-hour weekly treatment in a more intense gravity simulation, and I don't understand why they wouldn't have thought of that before if this is a known condition that happens when Salayans leave their planet. But, I mean, you know, there'd be no show if they had thought of that before, there'd be no episode, so I understand why they didn't. It's just that kind of thing that I like to nitpick about a little bit, but I'm not mad about it. This episode was great. I really liked it. Let me know what you thought about this episode. Are you going to miss Alara? Are you excited to get to know Lieutenant Tharl? Yeah. Yes, Lieutenant Tharl better with his trunk situation. If you like my videos, subscribe. If you don't, I am sure you'll tell me. See you next time. Wiedersehen.